Today we're going to talk about a collapsing knee. In other words, what to do when you stand on your leg if you have a knee that caves inward. Also included in this discussion today, we're going to talk about a scissoring gait. In other words, when you're stepping a weak leg forward, if it has a tendency to kind of cross over midline. Now, they do have a different set of circumstances as to what causes these two types of movement problems, but a lot of the exercises are similar, so that's why I'm going to group them together. So in this video, you're going to learn what causes these two movement problems to happen, and of course, exercises on how to either stop a knee from collapsing inward or minimize the amount of crossover stepping that occurs when you walk. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara, I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset in the context of neurologic injury, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to reach your highest maximum level. And with all that said, let's first talk about a knee that collapses inward. Now, what exactly causes this to happen? In most cases, when you go to stand on your leg, if you notice that the knee kind of collapses towards your other leg, there's a few reasons that I can think of that in my experience causes this to happen. One is weakness, primarily the muscles that rotate the leg outward and move the leg out to the side or abduct the leg. These muscle groups include the gluteus maximus and the tensor fascia lata are the primary muscles that we want to activate to start getting that leg to move outward and rotate outward. So when these three muscles are weak, meaning the muscles that rotate the leg outward and move the leg outward, the leg will have a tendency to collapse inward when you stand on that leg. Now, if you're someone with hemiplegia, there's a bigger picture, I think, that's going on in most cases. This isn't a really common problem. In most cases, people rotate outwards because they have spasticity, but occasionally, their leg will drop inward, and I would say it's not just focused on those hip muscles, but it is really kind of a dysfunction with the entire posterior kinetic chain. Now, I've done an entire series on the posterior kinetic chain, and I will link those videos below, but basically, very briefly and simplified, the posterior kinetic chain is a link of muscles and soft tissue structures kind of on the back of the body that kind of run from the opposite shoulder down to the involved foot. And when we load that leg, those are the muscles that all engage that posterior kinetic chain and prevent us from collapsing. So in my experience, it's really that entire chain. So if you are a member of our Gold program and you have access to the video library, we do have a category titled posterior kinetic chain, and you will see a lot more exercises in that category in the exercise vault than we're going to go over today. But for those of you that are just here on YouTube, you will find more exercises in the videos that I've linked below. So now let's talk about a scissoring gait, or when you go to step that leg forward, it crosses over midline. This is sometimes due to weakness in those muscles that I just went over on the outside of the hip that move that leg out to the side and rotate it outward. But it's more common with someone who has spasticity or involuntary muscle contraction in the muscles that adduct the legs or bring the legs together. So when you go to step that leg forward, those muscles on the inside of the thigh involuntarily contract, and that's what causes that leg to kind of cross over midline. Now, the reason I group these two together is because the progression of exercises that we're going to go over are very similar for both. So first, we want to stretch the structures on the inside of the thigh. So if you've had weakness for a long time on the muscles on the outside of the thigh, there's probably a little bit of tightness on the muscles on the inside of the thigh. And of course, if you're someone that has that scissoring gait and you have spasticity or an involuntary muscle contraction pulling that leg inward, you want those muscles to be as long as possible because that will minimize the occurrence, or it'll minimize triggering that spasticity the longer the muscles are. So again, step one is to stretch the muscles on the inside of the thigh. Now the next step is to strengthen the muscles that move that leg out to the side and externally rotate it. So the first exercise that we're going to go over is to stretch the inner thigh. What you're going to do is, if you have hemiplegia, this one's a little bit tricky to get into, but what you want to do is, if this is the leg that we're trying to stretch, is you want to kind of move that leg out or get it out as far as possible. And then you're going to try and scoot your body kind of away from that leg. You want to get this leg as straight as possible and as far out to the side as possible. So you can see if there are any muscles in here on the inside that are tight, they're being lengthened quite a bit right now. And then really you can just hold that. That's a good stretch in and of itself, just like that. Then if you wanted to deepen the stretch a little bit, you could side bend towards the leg or even come forward a little bit, and that'll deepen that stretch. So for this exercise, what we're focused on is retraining the muscles that move that leg out to the side, and it's one of the first exercises in learning how to engage those muscles on the outside of the hip and the muscles that rotate the leg outward. So your weak side is actually the side that's down for this exercise. The goal is when you move that top leg up and out away from your body, that you're not rolling forwards or backwards. You're staying nice and on your side. Now notice also that my hand is pointed up towards the ceiling. That does make it a little bit more challenging to stay on your side, and really your bottom leg is doing a ton of work to help keep you on your side. So on your side, arm extended towards the ceiling, go ahead and lift that leg up. And again, you don't want to be rolling backwards or forward. You want to stay nice and straight on your side. And then once you feel like you've gotten really good at that, you can add the little tap and then back up. So for this exercise, we're doing what we call a clamshell. So you're just moving those knees away from each other. The goal or the trick for this one is to really isolate those external rotators. You don't want to be rolling onto your back. So you really want to make sure you're on your side to really isolate those hip abductors and external rotators, and it's a great intermediate exercise to start re-engaging those hip muscles on the outside of the hip. So for this exercise, what we're working on is hip abduction. Now, a lot of people skip over this exercise because it does look pretty easy, but if you're doing it correctly and really engaging those hip abductors, you really want to make sure that your knee isn't rotating out to the side and that your knee is staying straight. Those are two of the main kind of compensations that we see with this exercise, and it usually indicates that you're using more of your hip flexors and not really your abductors. So again, the two most important things are that the knee stays pointing straight up towards the ceiling and that the knee does not bend. So once again, on your back, leg straight, knee pointing up towards the ceiling, and you're just going to move it out to the side. So for this exercise, what we're doing is we're isolating those hip abductors and external rotators. Now the key to this one is to make sure that you're not rotating your body when you lift that leg up. You'll also notice that my toe stays on the ground. I highly recommend that everyone start with their toe on the ground. In most cases, I see people doing this exercise wrong all the time. Even people at the gym that have not had a stroke, they rotate their whole body. And then you're not really isolating those hip abductors. So a way to prevent that from happening or prevent those compensations is just to keep your toe on the ground. It'll really allow you to focus on those hip abductors. So once again, you're going to be on all fours, toe stays on the ground, and you're just going to rotate that knee away. Now, some people can't get onto all fours to do kind of that fire hydrant exercise that I just showed. So a modification is just to do it in tall kneeling. So just find something that you can hold on to. If you have a weak arm, you can just hold on to it with one arm, and then you don't have to get down on all fours. And you can do the same thing, keeping your toe on the ground and just rotating it up and out to the side. So this is hip abduction with external rotation. What you're trying to do is just keep your shoulders nice and square and try and keep your entire body square to the front. Keep this leg square to the front, and you're just rotating that leg out to the side. Again, trying not to rotate your whole body, trying to keep everything square to the front and just rotating that leg out to the side. My suggestion is start standing on your weaker leg and moving the stronger leg out. And then of course you can go ahead when you get good at that or your leg gets a little bit stronger, then you can switch it up and try and have your weaker leg be the one that's moving. But I do think it's easier to stand on the weaker leg to start with before you try and do this active movement with that weaker leg. So for this exercise, what we're working on is a step back with resistance. The band you can see is actually trying to pull your knee inward. You're trying to resist that or fight that by just pushing against it, pushing that knee outward as you step back. So again, you want to keep pushing against that band and then step your other leg back. The keys to this exercise, again, is to really make sure that you're engaging the muscles on the outside of that hip by pressing into the bolster against the wall with your knee. And then again, keeping the core nice and tight and trying to keep the hips square, straight ahead. You're going to try and do that counter rotation with your upper body. So again, front knee is bent. Back knee is straight. You can turn that foot out just slightly in the back if you want to just to help with your balance a little bit. Try and keep your hips square to the front. Pressing that knee into the roll and then just doing a little rotation with your upper body. And then finally, of course, as you guys that have been following me for a while, you know that I like to do, I always follow it up with some kind of a functional activity. In this case, since we're focused on a leg movement or retraining a leg movement, I like to incorporate something that involves stairs if you're at that level, definitely just standing balance and walking. So for this exercise, what we're working on is forward backward stepping with hip abduction. So this is a resistance band that's actually trying to pull my knees into that kind of knock-kneed position. And the goal is that you just keep your knees pressed out into that band the entire time you're stepping forward. Trying, especially when you're standing on the leg, trying not to let it collapse in. So again, band is trying to pull your knees together and you're just pushing against it. You're going to walk forward and backward. So this is a gait drill for anyone who has a tendency to scissor or your legs have a tendency to cross across each other. Best thing you can do is just put something on the floor in between your legs to prevent them from doing that. Or you can either use a foam roller that's a good width or a yoga block. I like anything lightweight because if you tap it a little bit, it's going to move, and that's immediate feedback to your brain that your legs started to come together. And so it'll be a reminder to you to kind of push those legs apart. And then what you want to be telling yourself is step wide. Keep those feet wide. Try and think in your brain wider than normal. That's kind of like overcompensating for those legs trying to come together. You want to put more effort into keeping those legs apart. So I like to think of trying to keep those feet even like double this width. That's what you want to be envisioning in your head. And then you're just going to do some forward backward stepping. Pretty easy drill, but it is an effective drill. If you spend enough time doing it, you can retrain these legs to stay a little bit further apart and hopefully not cross over each other when you're stepping forward. So I hope you guys found those exercises helpful. If you like the exercises that you saw in this video, I definitely encourage you to check out our Gold membership program where you will get access to over 300 exercises specifically designed for neurologic conditions. So it's really hard to just randomly go through these videos on YouTube. So within this program, it's a little bit more structured and you can filter down by category to the exact exercises specific to your needs. So I definitely highly recommend that you check that out. Link for that is in the description below. If you have any questions, I would love for you to join us in our monthly live where you can submit questions in advance and I will answer your questions. And of course, we usually have time at the end of that live session option to take questions in real time. So link for that is also in the description below. If you'd like to keep in touch with us throughout the week, head on over to Instagram and follow us over there, where we post exercises a few times every single week. If you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.